Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar that show that talks about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is bigger than us, the big mystery, the cosmic dance, and we tell our stories of mystical connections and synchronicities and profound moments of realization in the hopes that we encourage each other to keep stepping on that journey and keep uncovering more and more insight into who we are in truth and things that can really expand our living and our wonderful lives that we're having and our understanding about what it is we're here to do. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I love having these kind of conversations. It's my favorite thing to do, to talk about all things spiritual and people's journeys. And I love to inspire people, and I love to be inspired by people, and I love to have awesome guests on Soul Nectar Show here. It's just such a pleasure to be in this role right now. And, today's guest is no different. And I want to say, if you're really ready to take that journey, if you're like, okay, all of this chaos and stress, I'm ready now. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go in. I'm ready to evolve. I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to discover who I am. I'm ready to let it all go and move into a new direction that's more beneficial. Well, today's guest is definitely someone who could help you with that. And also I am, if you want to consider a butterfly circle. So you can find details about that at www.carriehummingbird.com. That's Kerri, hummingbird.com. And there's information under events about butterfly circle, about reinvent yourself. So today's guest is Victoria Gallagher. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you for having me on the show, Carrie. It's a pleasure.
So glad you're here. So Victoria is a Law of Attraction Hypnotist. Yay! We love that. She specializes in career and business success, helping entrepreneurs, business professionals, and personal growth seekers for the last 21 years to overcome fear, doubt, worry, and negativity and develop a success-oriented mindset of confidence, self-belief, abundance, and positivity so you can attract what you want in your personal and professional lives. And boy, don't we need some of that right now.
Oh
Woo-wee!
my goodness. We
Oh!
definitely do. We definitely do. Yeah, this is, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. This has definitely been the time that I guess we've all sort of been preparing ourselves for, if you really think about it, because those of us who have been doing the work and have been training our minds and have been learning how to find peace to the exclusion of whatever is going on around you out there. This is that time. I mean, we're all being tested right now. All of us are definitely being tested. But this is really, I believe it's kind of our time to shine and really step up to what we know how to do as personal growth spiritual seekers. Because when it's easy, when everything is, the economy is robust and everybody's well and everything's going fine in the world, it's already difficult. It can already be difficult to manifest your destiny, manifest what your soul's journey is. But right now, for a lot of people, it feels like, what the hell? What the heck just happened here? And how am I going to function in this new world, this new earth, whatever you want to call it, this new dynamic? And so we were just kind of chit-chatting a little bit beforehand, and I think part of it is that it's so easy for us to get caught up. I mean, there's more negative stuff right now coming at us than ever before. People maybe that we know firsthand are dying from this horrible illness. Not to mention the fact that there's all kinds of conspiracy theories that are coming up. There's more and more people that are angry. We're all shut in our homes. Some people agree that we're supposed to be in that space. Some people kind of want to go against that. And so there's so much conflict going on right now. And it really just kind of comes down to the same thing, the same principles that have to do with law of attraction and manifesting still apply today. The same things are still possible today, and it still comes down to what are we going to choose to put our attention, our energy, and our focus on? Are we going to choose to put our attention, focus, and energy on the things that we don't like that we're seeing around us? Or are we going to continue our journey, not to dismiss what is going on, not to not acknowledge what is going on? What is going on is, well, depending on your perspective of what is going on though is very, very challenging, and it's sad for a lot of people who have lost people, have lost their jobs. And even if that's you, if you're in a position right now where that is you and you've lost some of your ability to make an income, or you've lost a loved one, or you yourself have lived through getting the coronavirus, um, the same principles still need to hold true and firm. It doesn't change because things got worse out there or things got better out there. We have to be steady with our word of what it is that we want to create. We have to continue that steadfast. All right, now now I really, really have to be strong. Now I really, really do have to sharpen my mindset and really continue this process of manifesting and focusing on what I want. So that's kind of where I would like to maybe chat about with you today.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think there's this place in which what's happened for a lot of people that are sharing it is that there's a lot of disruption. There's a ton of disruption, and that can be very stressful, especially when people's, let's say, their lifelong business is closing its doors now because of just the 4 weeks now of closure, right, and lockdown. It doesn't take much for some of these businesses to go out of business, and so we're seeing that firsthand now. We're seeing the underpinnings of our society. Like, that's how close we all live to the vest. That's how close we all live, that it's only a matter of a month, and some people are, their entire life's savings or the work that they've been doing is now like done. That's how fast it can happen. It's very stressful. And so but at the same time, like you mentioned, the conspiracy theories, like a lot of my people look at that stuff, right? Like, and so I didn't want to be an ostrich. I didn't want to be accused of being an ostrich. So I take a look at this stuff and I go and do the research, and I see, okay, well, is there any basis for some of this information? And quite honestly, there is some basis for some of it, quite a bit of it. As you start to do the research, you start to find evidence of things like, oh, but so now, isn't that interesting too? Because like what you focus on, you can find evidence to support. It's like, okay, well, even if all that's true, then that still doesn't mean I want to give my power to it, right? It still doesn't mean I want to give my power or go into fear about it, because then that gives it more energy, right? If we're putting focus on it, doesn't that give it more energy? So what's that delicate balance, for you?
Yeah, exactly. So I found for myself that I started doing the same thing. Some of my very well respected friends started making posts about things that were a little out there in their thought, in their thinking. And so I'm kind of out there. I mean, I believe in
Yeah.
the law of attraction, for crying out loud, right? I mean, to me, that's not an out there concept. you know, the way that I explained it in my book, it's very common sense, logical approach to manifesting. But at the same time, for many people, things like hypnosis and meditation and yoga and all, you know, all the things that we do, law of attraction, are a little out there. So I've always been a little edgy, and I've always been somebody that's curious. And so my curiosity kind of got the best. I'm not going to say the best of me, but you know, I really just kind of started doing a little bit of this research. And what I realized is exactly what you said. I mean, whichever way you believe, all right, your reticular activating system is going to find proof of whatever it is that you ultimately believe. So it really, honestly, like I was not finding satisfaction. um like I wasn't like finding anything definitive for me that was kind of going like, oh, okay, this absolutely 100% I can like put this to rest because this is true. And I could not find anything that definitively put this to rest as false. It was just like, you know what, I don't know. I'm just going to live with I don't know. And in that reality of I don't know, I can still create my own reality. And because it's not going to be impacted by any of those the new ideas. It's really not. And and why am I going to let that stop my journey of simply, you know, being very clear on what my life purpose is? And my life purpose is to get this information into people's hands and help them to manifest their dreams. Well, that's still, if you really just get down to the fundamentals of it, maybe the way we make money at some point changes. Maybe the way we interact with people at some point changes. Maybe the way we do things, the how will change. But I think ultimately we still need to focus on who we are. And I think that really is the key point here, because when it comes to manifesting our dreams, all right, the only way that we're going to manifest our dreams and our desires and our goals is we have to become the person that is a match for those possibilities anyway. So the how that's going to take place in the new environment is really a moot point, because we still just want to focus on ourselves. We still want to just focus on growing ourselves to become the best possible person that we can become. So the goal just simply gives you a focal point, something to focus on that lets you know, okay, so who do I need to be? What do I need to change about myself to grow into the person who is in possession of that life, of that dream, of that goal? And so it's still that we still need to focus on the same thing no matter what's going on around us. And you know, and the other part of that is, um, you know, no matter what we fear is going to happen in the future, right in this very, very second, this very moment, this very present moment, if you can just be present with yourself, and you can just be present with the air that you have in your lungs and your ability to breathe and your ability to sit and your ability, if you're here and you're listening to us right now, everything is actually just fine.
It is. And you know, there's always a way around it. Like, okay, so for just like a practical example, here's just a practical example. So I just heard from another friend who's very well established in her business. It's a holistic business. It's actually like an expo. And she got an email from Google Ads saying that they would no longer do ads for holistic type alternative medicine and natural remedies, that they
Oh,
will stop accepting ads for that kind of thing. Okay, so that doesn't stop you. Okay, you're still manifesting by the law of attraction what you desire. And instead of going through Google, which has decided to close its doors and be, medical complex, instead of going through that, it's going to reroute and find another avenue to get to the people that need to hear your message, right? And the people that need to hear your message are the same people that are going to be waking up and going, I don't want to use this controlled browser that's not telling me all the possibilities. I don't want that. And then there'll be a new option that opens up, and already there's plenty of them. If you start looking at private browsing and sort of dissenting technologies that are independent, there's plenty of them out there right now. You'll start just naturally gravitating toward other ways of getting information out, and you'll find other ways to do it, like these podcasts. Like, you'll find other ways to connect with other people, to put other streams so that people can find you. So if
Absolutely.
you're concerned
And
about that, don't be. Let them do what they want. We don't need to go through Google. I'm getting in the process of changing my emails and everything. I'm going to get off the platform, because if that's not resonant with me. So I think this is
right.
now a part of, like, determining, we knew this was going to happen, like the division of the worlds, like the 3D and the 5D. We knew that people were going to self-select, like, where they want to be. And so that's no longer, in resonance with me. It's not something in resonance with me.
Absolutely. And I have had my challenges in the past myself with Google. And so I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel like, oh my God, I'm so dependent on getting traffic from Google. And that had happened several times. And the thing is that anxiety that you get from, like, oh my God, Google just shut down my business. No, Google didn't shut down your business. It's one avenue of getting business. And if you focus on that, then it's going to put you in a vibration where you're going to believe, accept, and allow your business to have, less traffic.
To be
But if you
disempowered by it, like, you're basically focusing on it as an agreement, like you're agreeing with it, like, oh, this is bad for me, right? Like, you're saying, oh, they just did this thing and they are going to hurt me with it. This is victim consciousness.
Exactly. And, whatever we choose to accept and believe is what will become our reality. I've been reading, this is still, I would say, I've been rereading The Four Agreements. Have you read
Oh,
that
I
book?
love that book. It's my first awakening book.
Yes,
Think
I think for so many people it really is. And we're of course we're on we just finished Be Impeccable with Your Word. My husband and I are reading it together for the second time together. I had read it many times even before introducing him to it, but it's all about the power of our word, and our word is the ability that we have to create and manifest our lives. And so whatever we are saying is an agreement that we're making with the universe. And whenever and there's just so much more to it, but I mean, it's all about strengthening that word, because the word is the power to create anything that you want. And so when we are talking negatively about anything, all right, we're essentially using the word against ourselves. We're essentially picking away at our word, at our ability to create whatever we want to create. And it still works the same way, whether we are, quote unquote, in a crisis or we're in good times. We still have to focus on, okay, now is where the rubber really meets the road. Now we really have to put these things into practice, because things are changing and evolving super fast. And we also kind of have to sort of accept the reality that we are in right now, because we can't really go from a reality that we're in right now if we haven't, like, realized the reality that we're in. And so we have,
Exactly. You got to know where you are, which means you do have to take a look at this stuff and not stick your head in the sand. I mean, you do have to spend some time looking at it.
yeah, we just
And
don't want to get inundated with it. You know, we want to like see it for like, okay, you know, here's my bank account, here's my job situation, here's my relationship situation, here's my health situation. And you know, and we want to actually like, okay, this is true right now, but it doesn't always have to be true because nothing is always true. Everything is temporary. What the life we had before 3 weeks ago was temporary. And the thing is we get addicted to or attached to our present way of being and our current lifestyle. But it doesn't, you know, the law of nature is change. Everything changes. Every and this too is going to change where we're at right now this month. And we're in kind of I feel like everything's going to change pretty quickly, pretty volatilely. And we have to be able to prepare ourselves for you know, for being present to what is changing, and just kind of go with the flow a little bit, you know.
yeah, change with what's happening, go with the flow, and invite an innovation, because in times of destruction, right, like things are getting destroyed, you know, your way of things you thought were stable, right? So those are all getting moved out of the way. Why? Because maybe they're not congruent. Like I had to look at that thing, just taking the Google example again. Like that just is something I fell into. You know, it was convenient. It got the tools and the calendar scheduling, and most things integrate with it. So I was like, it was just a convenience thing. But sometimes convenience in the world of spirit, I've learned, is not always the best reason to be aligned with a platform, right? So you've got to think about that. You know, it might be that the governing principles and ideologies at the very top levels of this company are not congruent with spirituality and spiritual Christ consciousness and work like this. It might not be congruent. So, you know, this is where everybody needs to kind of make up their own mind and, you know, become aware of the facts, run your own experiments, you know, do some searches on some things in different browsers and notice what you get. Just prove it to yourself, you know, that, you know, run the experiment, see what happens. Maybe it's all the same for you, maybe it's not. You know, I fully believe that we're all get an individual experience. So
That is true
I
too.
fully believe that.
Yeah, we're seeing everything that we are seeing right now and hearing. We are seeing and hearing and experiencing that through our own set of filters, through our own fog, if you will, through our own illusion. And all of this really, in a way, is kind of, I mean, you know, it's kind of an illusion that we're seeing how, because there's no such thing really as fact. There's hardly anything that is factual for one person, but is like completely factual for everybody. You know, we all believe in different facts, and so we believe in what we believe based on our whole past experience. And so if that's true, then that means that we can continue to create our future experience through our own experience and our own perception of how we want to move through this. We can choose how we want to move through this. We really can.
Yeah, and so I think it's a matter, for me, it's a matter of noticing when I get those body clues or brain clues that I'm oversaturated, like
Mm-hmm.
that I've lost my positivity, it's sliding into something else, and it's like, okay, it's time to now go and sit, be with myself, process the feelings, process the emotions, process the stories mostly. Like, what are the stories I'm telling myself about what I see? What's the narrative? What's the thing that's getting me upset? Because it's not just a feeling. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm having a feeling in me, but it's because I'm thinking something. There's a belief I have about the information I'm seeing. My brain is connecting dots in such a way that it's creating a narrative that then's causing a reaction in my body, that then I need to become aware of that. And then that's the key to addressing that narrative, because then that narrative is the thing that's actually driving your reality, right?
Yeah. So it's not the event itself that is making you feel the way that you feel. It is how you perceive the event. It is, like you said, it's the story that we're telling ourselves about the impact that that event is going to have on you, and you can decide how that's going to impact you. You can decide that you're going to go through it with fear, and or you can decide that you're going to go through it with courage. And courage doesn't mean that there's a lack of fear. It just means ultimately that while there might be fear, you're not going to let that stop you, and you're not going to let that be the only guiding story that there is. What if there's something really amazing waiting around the corner as a result of this that could not have happened? It's always darkest before dawn, right? And almost any bad thing, if you think about almost any bad thing that's ever happened, it's always been followed up by something good. And so why would this be any different? Anytime you've ever broken up with somebody or divorced, or it makes room for somebody even better to come along into your life. Anytime you've ever lost a job or lost, a business, well, ultimately it turns around. Eventually, it does turn around if you choose that. And there are other opportunities that are available, and so we want to focus on ultimately what is it that we'd like to create out of this. How would we like to see this come, where would we like to be when this is all over? And it's never really going to be over, because
Right.
the your life is always evolving. So it's not that point. That's the other thing too, is like there's not that point where suddenly you've arrived
Yeah,
and
and
it's
it's
like,
all done
what?
and wrapped up and tidy, and that's called ascension, and now you no longer have to be in the physical dimension.
Exactly. So we're not going to arrive. We're just going to continue to be moving forward, moving through a process. And um, some days are going to look better than others, and some days are going to look, and you have to like let yourself off the hook on those days that, all right, well, today was a day that I wasn't at my best, but tomorrow is a brand new day, and I can wake up, and I can choose to be who I need to be in order to get through this. And you got to make a choice. Like, I'm going to get through this. I'm strong enough. I'm going to get through this. There's something, and it as long, you might not be able to see it right now. You may not have all the answers in front of you. There is a lot of uncertainty for all of us. I mean, some of us might be living in a complete illusion that everything is still going to be okay. Maybe for them it's not going to be okay for a period of time. So we're all looking at life through our own filters right now, and we can choose how we continue to navigate that. But definitely being present and definitely focusing on strengthening your own word to yourself right now is one of the best things you can do, and focusing on what you do want more than you're focusing on what you don't want.
Yeah, I was relating it to, because like there's so many different people on the planet, and each person on the planet has a different reticular activating system, or like it's tuned to a different channel, right? It's like out there in a different channel. It's picking up different information. And so and for people that aren't aware that they have this going on, they just think that's being right because they have all this evidence. And I love it because you post something, and then the people that think that way, they post like 10 articles saying exactly the same thing, and they think that proves the point. And it's like, well, no, because if you actually think about it, all those companies are owned by the same basic person. Like if you look at the ownership of the companies, you start to figure out that like they all are owned by pretty much the same small group of people. So like, okay, well, that's not really true. But that thought can only happen if you're not attached to being right, and you're not attached to knowing, and you're not attached to trusting something that you've always trusted. That realization can only open up if you're willing to lose your identification as knowing everything, and having a sense of safety in these external, platforms or people or institutions or whatever it is. You have to be able to be inner guided in order to be confident enough to question everything you think you know, right?
Absolutely, yes. You got to be able to have enough courage to question.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
and because it's unsettling, right? To our psychologies, I don't know, it's so unsettling to to think, it was unsettling for me to go look up the Google thing because I trusted Google as a search engine, and I was like, oh, well, it's just giving you all the results on the internet. That's what I thought. And then I was like, oh, it's not. Oh,
Mhm.
okay, I didn't know that, so, but because I know about my reticular activating system, I know that I probably had this belief in it, or this faith and this trust that, that made me feel safe and made me feel like everything was going to be okay. And so I just held on to that, and for years and years and years, I just kind of defaulted, and I never questioned it because I like being safe. I don't know about you guys, you like being safe. But this kind of courage is about being okay asking questions, even in your own mind, and having the courage to push through the fear of looking at it, because there's actually fear to look at things.
Mhm.
There's a fear to
Yeah, because you might find
challenge.
the truth and you might not be happy with the truth.
Exactly. So when I saw that truth, I wasn't happy with that truth. And I started to feel what you were talking about, like that sense of disempowerment, or that sense of like, oh, now this means I'm blocked, or oh, now how am I going to get my business out there, or how, and I started noticing those thoughts, and then I said, wait a second, the divine is infinite, is
Mm-hmm.
infinite.
Yes. Yeah. And it's because we can only conceive so much. There's so much that we don't know. Okay, so I mean, we have basically there's the things that we know that we absolutely know. Like, I know that my car is silver. I know that, I know the size of my house. I know I have 3 cats. I know I have a husband. There's all those things that we know that we absolutely know, right? And I mean, that's a very, 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 very small microscopic amount of knowable information. And then there's the stuff that we know that we don't know. Like, I know that I am not a rocket scientist. I know that I don't know how to do brain surgery. I know that I don't know how to change an engine in a car. There's all those things that I know that I don't know. And that's even probably a bigger part. That's even a bigger portion of, so I know what I know and I know what I don't know. All right. And that, those things. So if you know what you don't know, and you need to like know some of the things you don't know in order to get from A to B, then you have the ability to like, okay, I can just learn those things, and now I can know that. But here's the thing, that's only the realm of the known. You know what you know, and you know what you don't know. But then there's the whole other realm of the unknown, and you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. There are things out there that you've never even heard of before, to even know that you don't know that. And so to me, in a lot of ways, that's where law of attraction and manifesting exists because of the fact that, like, let's just say that you feel that you're stuck on something right now, on something that you desire to change, a change that you'd like to manifest. And right now, inside your entire level of awareness that you have right now, that you don't have a clue how you're going to make that happen because of the things that you know and the things that you don't know. And by the way, business is happening today in this economy. My husband's in high-end jewelry just sent me a text, and $44,000 in sales today. Woohoo!
Nice. Well, business is happening.
Business is
I want to
happening. I
say,
just
like,
like to remind people, business is
it's still
happening. My
happening
business is
even in this
running.
time. What's so interesting is that as I was sitting there one day recently contemplating, and some fears were coming up about, oh no, what if the internet goes down and that stops and I don't have my phone and everything doesn't work? How am I going to get business and how are people going to find me? And then what if it never goes back to the way it was? And I was kind of going on, exploring these things, letting that just surface. And then all of a sudden I got guidance like, Carrie, they'll just find you. They will literally just find you. They will just walk up to your house and find you. I was like, you're kidding. They're just going to walk up to my house and find me? Yes. Oh, okay. Like, that was news to me, that was a possibility. So I believe what you're saying, because my guide tells me all this time, messages all the time like this, like, don't believe everything you see. Just because someone's trying to, and just remember, like, this is so powerful. We're in this year of intense transition, like flip on a dime transition between patriarchal control, top down, suppression of the masses, like all of these themes that have been going on for 5,000 years probably. And now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. We're moving into the divine feminine energy. We're moving into flow and spirit and synchronicity and connections you can't explain and the deep mysteries under the surface. Like, so we're pivoting in a big way. I mean, this is a huge pivot, so of course it's dramatic.
Absolutely, it is. And change is scary.
It
Change
is.
is stressful. People, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest fears that people have, is just fear of the unknown. That's what stops most people from moving forward on anything, on any kind of decision. But the point is that, we can't let uncertainty take away our power to decide. And when you decide what you are going to create, you basically um, close off all other possibilities. And so if you really, really want something, all you really have to do is commit to it, and the how will appear. It absolutely will. It's not, and this is the thing that a lot of people don't really get about law of attraction. And so I kind of want to go a little bit into how that works, because I've said law of attraction, I've said manifesting a few times during this, but I really want people to understand that, law of attraction for a lot of people is synonymous because of maybe what they saw on the movie The Secret, which is just an incomplete, it's a wonderful, beautiful movie, but it's just an incomplete, it's 90 minutes, so it's not able to tell the whole story. I mean, my book takes 6 hours on Audible to listen to, and it's still not even complete. I could probably make a book 2 and a book 3 about it, but at least it gives you a step-by-step guide as to what you need to do. And when I say do, it's sometimes you don't know what actions to take, and a lot of people, they take actions but they're not inspired actions, so they're doing, but they're not in alignment with what they're doing. And or maybe they're doing things but they don't actually believe that they're going to create the result based on what they're doing. They still have a belief that is completely in conflict with what they're doing. So you can have this idea, this thing that you want to bring about, and you can do, but you're not getting anywhere because you don't actually believe, and so you're really sabotaging all of your efforts that you're doing. On the other hand, you might really have a desire for something, and you're feeling it and you're thinking the right things, but you're also like not acting on it. You're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for something else to happen. You're maybe, and like in The Secret, they, the way that they represent it kind of looks a little bit like, oh, all I have to do is just sit around and meditate and make a vision board for myself, and voila, things are just going to appear on my front porch and in my driveway and around my neck and on my finger, and all the things that you want, they're just going to appear out of nowhere. And that's not true either. There's actually 8 conditions that you need to be in alignment with in order to bring about what it is that you desire. And the first is just having a desire, knowing what you want, having a very clear, specific purpose. That in and of itself can be a challenge, especially even right now, because right now people might say, well, who am I to even desire anything? I don't even know what's happening in the world. How can I even desire? How can I even have a desire? I'm just gonna think about what's going wrong all the time and hope, and so that, you know, you can't let what is happening right now be the only focal point. You have to have a desire. You have to be very clear about that. Well, maybe you want many, many different things, and that I've found for myself in my own business, that's been the biggest challenge is really, I've got my book, I've got my app, I've got my seminars, I've got, and so it's like, well, what am I going to focus on? Because I want all these things. Well, you do have to kind of figure out what is the biggest domino that you need to knock over that is going to ultimately create the rest of the results that you want. And so, so really starting there. And then you need to align your thinking. You need to have your thoughts. I mean, we think like 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And most of them, like 90% of them, are negative. And they're the same ones that we thought yesterday. Because when we're growing up and we're at our very impressionable age, and we heard people constantly tell us, no, 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 don't do that, stop that. And so this is sort of the internal dialogue that we have going. It's not our fault, but it just is. And it's nearly impossible. We can't monitor all those thoughts. Most of them are unconscious. Most of them are repetitive. And so we're not even thinking anything brand new. We're just thinking the same thoughts we've been thinking over and over again. So we have to begin to notice and become aware of what we're thinking about, and get the thoughts to match up with what it is that we desire. We've got to also make sure that our feelings are matched up with our desire. What we're imagining. I mean, like, what are the pictures that are going through your mind right now? Is it, the pictures of everything shut down, people walking around sick with masks on their face, with gloves, with no toilet paper in the, what are the pictures that you're feeding yourself right now? We got to change those. We got to change those pictures to be the pictures that we want to create. We got to change our belief system, which is so big. Our subconscious mind has its own set of beliefs that you don't even probably know about right now. Most of those beliefs that are, we have to tune in. We have to figure out, like, what is stopping me from moving forward and having what I want. And then, when we have most of that in alignment, and we're meditating and we're journaling and we're doing all the work that we need to do, because the work is mostly internal work and some external work, but it's mostly internal work. And I think that that's where a lot of people get confused, is because some people might think that it's all internal work and some people might think it's all external work. It's a combination of both. And when we do the internal work, the universe, God, superconscious, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, the divine, is going to send us useful information through it's going to send us ideas. It's going to say, it's going to give you those ahas. It's going to give you what you need to do next. It may not be the whole, like Martin Luther King says, not the whole staircase, but it's going to give you the first step. Like it's going to give you some strong intuitive guidance as to which direction you want to go in. And then by taking those inspired actions, you sort of like validate that. You say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to trust my intuition and I'm going to take inspired action. And when you take those inspired actions, you're going to start to see the eighth condition, which is manifestation. And manifestation doesn't necessarily mean like 100% manifestation. It's all of the manifestations. The flower, it starts out as a little tiny bloom. It's not the whole thing yet, but that's a manifestation. The flower has started to manifest. We know where we ultimately want it to go, but you've got to acknowledge, oh, it's starting to manifest. There's signs, there's things are happening. So those are the 8 manifesting conditions that I talk about in my book, Practical Law of Attraction.
Practical Law of Attraction. I'll put a link to that book in the show notes. Thank you so much for running through that. That was very comprehensive and very clear. I can tell you've talked about this quite a bit. So
yeah.
So how do people get started with you? I mean, I know I can link to your book. I assume it's on Amazon, so I can link to it. So what other options do you have for people to get started with you?
Oh boy, there's, so I like I was saying before, I have a lot of different avenues to working with me. One is, through starting to read my book, Practical Law of Attraction, on Amazon. Another avenue is through my HypnoCloud app. And that's available on both iTunes and Android. And it's a free app. And especially right now, what we did, we changed the app, we updated it to, on the home screen, it actually has a free coronavirus relief link. And that link takes you to 12 unlocked sessions that are already unlocked in the app. So you don't even have to sign up for a free trial to get access to those. Like we're just giving that as a free service right now, as long as this is a thing that is in our awareness. That's going to be on the front home screen of my app. And so that's another way. Going to my personal growth club. So at Personal Growth Club, I have about 24 different personal growth oriented courses, helping you with learning self-hypnosis, helping you to learn how to visualize, helping you to learn how to improve your memory. I have a course on my whole Law of Attraction, Practical Law of Attraction. So that's another way. HipTalk.com, which was actually my very first website that I started back in 1999, that has about 600 different hypnosis recordings. And so, yeah, there's no shortage of content and ways to, to get access to me, free and paid. I mean, there's different levels, I do lots and lots of things for free. And then, if you want, the more access, the more, the more value you get.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, that was really comprehensive. Really, really powerful. Great discussion. I hope that helps everybody out there to navigate these times just a little bit better and find your new pathway forward and to start creating what you actually want out of this whole situation. Start intending that, visualizing it, feeling it, becoming certain about it, and then, bringing it into being, acknowledging it's coming into being. All those things that Victoria just said is really beautiful. So this is your time. You can create. I love the Hopi White Eagle Chief spoke, and he gave us some good advice about how this is a time of self-mastery, that through our own power of co-creation and our own self-mastery of our own consciousness, we can either bring ourselves up through the portal, or we can go down through the tunnel. And go down through the tunnel, we're going into the fear matrix. We go up through the portal, we're going into the next place. So I'll see you
I
upstairs.
like that. I like that. Yes.
I'm going
Yes.
up.
Yeah, I'm going
So,
up.
so see you all up there too. So give yourself all the support you need in order to get yourself up there. And we love you. And, if you found value in this broadcast, please give it a nice rating so that other people on iTunes can find it. If you found it on iTunes or on YouTube, if you found it there. Ratings is really how these systems figure out what information to share. And also just link backs. So if you share the link to the episode out there, it also, the link backs give it extra SEO as well. So we're happy for
Mhm.
you to do that. So please do that. And we're going to give kisses. You ready to give everybody kisses, Victoria? I always,
Sure.
yeah, well, these are totally safe, sterile kisses during the coronavirus. Okay.
There we go.
Here they come, everybody. Mwah.
Mm.
Love you guys. Thanks for
Love you
joining.
guys. Thank you.
See you next week on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now.